Okay, I'd like to find out how you feel about the item number 8 on the agenda, which would allow Danbury local police to enforce immigration law.
I think it's the worst idea ever. I think municipalities' job are to serve and protect the community. This is a federal issue. Now, the issue of immigration, there are issues with it, but it needs to be fixed at the federal level. And by putting these resources, and trusting the police to do immigration job is just going to take away from their duty in the public, which is serve and protect. There's going to be crimes. People are not going to report them. Criminals will just take advantage of it. If there's a burglary, someone sees it, they're not going to report it on fear of being, deported or arrested. That's not good. Immigrants from communities who are legal will feel threatened or harassed by the call they look, their accent, what they wear. It won't be inviting community, it won't be inviting for businesses at all.
I think it's totally the wrong idea to be using local police to do any of this. We've seen raids, we've seen deportations, we've seen attacks on workers and families, and to get the local police involved in this is going to cause a whole lot of mayhem, and it's an anti-human, anti-family, anti-worker measure to get the local police involved in any of this. ICE shouldn't even be coming here, let alone local police. These are families trying to live their lives, workers who've been driven out of their countries by U.S. policies that have impoverished people over there. Now they come here because of their desperation, and now we want to run them out of here by getting the police to go after them and terrorizing their families. It's all wrong.
I think that would be a very harmful thing for the community here in Danbury, and I think actually it would be a very harmful thing for American communities across the country as well. I think that it would be precedent-setting, and to have police become ICE agents would essentially allow them to racial profile just about anyone.
I think it's disgusting and a disgrace to this entire city. As a person who is born and raised in Danbury, I only see this as an attack on not just immigrants, but on everybody's rights.
I'm concerned as a citizen of Danbury. I'm also the granddaughter of immigrants. I know how difficult it was for them when they came, and I am concerned with what I consider racial profiling that is occurring toward the Latino population. And so I came out tonight because I feel that we need to really be alert and fair and just with people who are here to work, just as my grandparents came to work and everyone else's did too. So that's why I came out to support it. I think it's very important that it's very easy, I think, for people to do the wrong thing sometimes, with their feelings. Because it's the us versus them stuff that I don't like.
Well, the 287G ordinance is something that the Danbury police simply do not have the training and will not, over even a year, have the training to facilitate. The immigration law is constantly changing. Our communities are constantly changing. For the municipal police to take away the support to the general community and focus it on this one action would be an absolutely reprehensible act on their part.
How did you feel about some of the comments by the anti-immigrant people who got up there and spoke?
Well, it's more of the same old propaganda, lacking facts, trying to equate people who are here on expired visas with, or families of mixed immigration status with, hardened criminals is ridiculous. And it's an excuse. It's an excuse that ICE uses all the time to perform collateral raids where it enters a house because somebody, overstayed a visa, and then it takes everybody else in the house with them. I mean, it's just the same old propaganda as always, and it's totally lacking in facts, and it's deliberately misleading, just as Boughton is.
I just wanted to say tonight that I'm opposed to taxpayers' dollars being used to fund a program like this that is driven out of fear and prejudice. Mayor Boughton was quoted in the News Times the other day saying, in the right circumstances, it seems like a positive program. What can be positive about ruining people's lives? Was the city not just sued last week by the Danbury 11? I can see a flood of new lawsuits coming in as the police department try to take over immigration reform. Can Danbury afford this potential endless litigation? I doubt it. It's very expensive. The nation, not just Danbury, Connecticut, immigration system is broken and badly in repair. Whose responsibility is it to fix it? Our mayor, the city council, our police department, ICE with their terrorizing raids? The answer is none of the above. President Bush and our elected officials in Congress need to enact comprehensive immigration reform. Legalization that establishes a safe and humane immigration system consistent with moral values. Not our mayor, not our common council, and not our local police department. They are not equipped to handle immigration reform. In closing, I would like to say to Mayor Boughton, the common council, and all those in favor of passing this program, how are our tax dollars, how much will they rise to run this program and the inevitable coming lawsuits? Now, I also had another thing to say, and I was told not to say it, but I just feel it's important. I wanted to let you all know that I believe in heaven, and heaven is a place of people of all nations, all languages, and all legal statuses. So if you don't like the changing face of Danbury, Connecticut, you probably will not like heaven either. Thank you.
At the center of ICE access is 287G, which was one of the 1996 amendments to the Immigration and Naturalization Act. So now, for more than 10 years, local police across the country have had the opportunity to partner with federal immigration authorities. However, out of the thousands and thousands of municipal, county, and state agencies across the country, only 60 have done so. Julie Myers, who oversees ICE, calls this tremendous interest on the part of local agencies. Hardly. But why so few? Because, with the exception of this handful, agencies have figured out that local police enforcing federal immigration law is an appallingly bad idea. The job of local police is to serve, protect, and police their communities. For this, they rely on the trust built up over years of being in neighborhoods, responding to calls, helping people in emergencies, and just being visible. If they are successful, people come to them when they see something suspicious, or if they have been a victim or witness to a crime. In turn, the police know they can go to the neighborhood and get information they need when they're trying to solve a crime. So what's going to happen when the Danbury police start serving as immigration law officers? Immediately, the department loses the trust and cooperation of a sizable part of the community. If people are afraid of being deported or having themselves or members of their family undergo immigration investigations, they will no longer come to the police when they witness a crime or a victim. Criminals will quickly find out they can operate with impunity, and dangerous situations will go unreported. The whole community suffers. Enforcing immigration law also means there are fewer resources available for solving serious and violent crimes. Our police department currently is just adequately staffed. That would stretch them even further. Finally, the complexity of federal immigration law leaves local police open to lawsuits if they make a mistake or will exceed their authority. Most local agencies know that ICE access is a bad idea, and it's a bad idea for Danbury, too. Now, I expect that sometime in the winter, after November, there will be a report back to the council that draws this very same conclusion. So at this point, I can only wonder why this item is on the agenda at all.
I find this an unacceptable use of my tax dollars. Whether it's my local taxes or whether it's my federal taxes, I am still forced to contribute to this ordinance here in Danbury by my tax dollars. Serious crimes that were committed here in Danbury would go unreported by people under this kind of system. People would be terrified to come forward and talk with the police about anything they fear. On the other hand, a witch hunt climate could easily ensue under this environment, where people, their neighbor was making noise one night late. Let's call ICE and have ICE knock on their door. Let's call the Danbury police and have ICE knock on their door, whether or not they're here legally, without any form of proof. Now, so that leads to an environment where anybody can be harassed under any circumstance. Ridiculous. I fear that it is xenophobia and racism that are fueling a lobby in our local and our national governments, contributing to this environment where this ordinance could even be proposed. I really urge you, think twice. We're already facing a lawsuit for possible civil rights violations. We're already hearing rumors of racial profiling. Under this circumstance, those accusations would increase. Please don't expose the city of Danbury, a diverse and multicultural society, to this sort of tearing apart of the fabric which has always made this city work.
I can't help but wonder the timing of this ordinance coming up now. And I can't understand why all of a sudden we are dealing with this. From what I've read about 287G, this combining of our police force with the ICE unit would be nothing more than giving the police the ability to go after felons who are here legally. It is not for immigration enforcement. We don't even know if the state of Connecticut is going to even let us do this. So I don't even understand why we're even discussing this without the facts. We don't know if the governor is going to let us do this. We don't know if the attorney general is going to let us do this. So I have great questions on why we are even discussing this now. I do agree with the first speaker as far as we need to go after the people who are hiring illegals, not the illegals themselves. It's supply and demand. Anybody that you talk to in the street door knocking knows that. In fact, everybody that I've spoken to isn't discussing immigration as their issue. They're discussing overdevelopment. So I have a great question. Most political scientists would frame this as an October surprise. We're throwing this out there for the public to mull over their head for the next 3 weeks before an election. It's wrong. This is politics. And we're dealing with people's lives in this case. And I find it highly insulting. As many of you know, I'm running for office in the 2nd Ward because my neighbors had asked me to run. But what convinced me to run for office was attending these meetings. And I haven't been too happy. And this ordinance just pushes that farther. So, the other thing that we've had an issue with, I'm concerned how this is going to burden the police department. We're now going to have the police department going out to enforce immigration laws. Anytime I go speak against something at the zoning board and I bring up traffic and people talk about speeders and things of that sort, and I get up and say, you people don't realize what happens in this neighborhood, the applicant and the attorney stands up and says, well, enforce your laws. We don't have enough police officers at this particular time to enforce these laws. The street that I live on is like Indianapolis 500.
Mr. Gucker, you're really getting on.
Well, what my point is that, I'll bring it back to the ICE thing, as far as our police officers have plenty to do. They don't need to be adding this added on. And I feel until we have answers from our state officials, I don't think we should even be discussing this. Thank you.
And I really do worry about the hatred that I read about in the paper, and I really do feel it's more racist than not. And it's hard to say that out loud, because I kept thinking growing up, well, we got through that, but we really haven't as a country, and we need to keep discussing it and be very, very careful, I feel, when we bring up something like this and cross those boundaries. So that's what I want to say.
And I would like to speak on the fact of a person, the lady that spoke right before the gentleman just came up on the purple top, and it saddens my heart, and it really does, as a member of this community, to agree with her. That unfortunately we have, in fact, let the facts and the real truth of this discussion of immigration take the better of our city and become a racial issue. I speak on that in my own accord, by my own experience. As you can often see, I'm not fair-skinned, I don't have blonde hair and blue eyes, And I see that unfortunately I am getting very mixed reactions, and I am undergoing prejudice when people don't know me. They don't know that I've been here and I was raised in Danbury. I went through Broadview Middle School, Danbury High School, my Western Connecticut State University student. But a lot of people, when they look at me, because they don't have enough information, because they just absorb what they hear about this whole illegal versus legal immigration issue, they just look at me as if I am an undocumented immigrant, which is the right term in my point. And I want people to really focus on when we're bringing these federal issues down to a municipal level, and when we're dealing with people in the community who are not educated enough about these issues, we are going to cause people who are caught in the middle to suffer the consequences of this discussion, which should really be happening, in my point of view, at the local level. Granted, yes, we do deal with some of the effects of immigration in general, legal and illegal, in our municipal level, but only the federal government can really provide us a solution so that we can also reap the benefits of that solution at the local level. And I think the immigrants communities, especially the new immigrant groups that suffer the same that the Irish suffer, now it's the Brazilian communities, they're going to come full circle. And I just hope that 10, 20 years from now, we're going to look back and we're just going to laugh as a community about this, because we're going to really praise all these different communities for all the good, positive things they've given to Danbury, and not just this hatred and this very dense atmosphere that we have in our city right now. Thank you.